Good afternoon, everyone. This is Anup from AdTech. I have Sujit also with me. Welcome, everyone. So here, today we are going to see how JIRA, Stash, and Bamboo can be used as an ALM solution for a DevOps platform. So in today's webinar, in previous webinar, we have quite a good amount of overview of DevOps. And in today's webinar, we are going to see a brief about what is DevOps and how an ALM integrated perspective of ALM. Then we'll see the problems which are being faced in release management in general, and how an integrated and automated release management solution overcomes those problems. This would then be followed by a live demo. And we have a upcoming webinar in next month where we would be showing you the integrated Jenkins, Puppet, and Docker for continuous delivery. So let us go ahead with this particular webinar. So just prior proceeding ahead, just to give an overview on who AdTech and Microgenesis are. So we are basically DevOps and ALM specialists, which includes the activities which includes DevOps and ALM are system integrations, then configuration management. We are automation experts, and even we are the process consultants, consultant on SDLCs. We are Atlassian Platinum partners, and even we are Jenkins Enterprise partners. So what is DevOps? There are various people think that DevOps is basically a tool. Is it only a tool? Is it only a CI, continuous integration and continuous delivery constitutes to DevOps? Or is it just a philosophy? Or maybe a technique? Some people come and they say that it's just a methodology. It's just a concept. So what exactly DevOps is? So DevOps basically is a combination of all these things, and including the set of values, set of principles, even the culture involved in the organization. So just to brief you, that it's basically a convergence of process, people, and tools. So in our organization, we have various, we come across various actors. So we have business users, we have project and dev teams, we have IT operations team, we have a testing team altogether, and there has always been a silos between communication between these two groups and working between these two groups. So basically DevOps helps here where it provides a convergence, it provides an integration, communication, collaboration between these groups so as to rapidize our software delivery and to improve our operations performance. So by achieving the convergence of slight shift in process, culture, and technology, along with continuous assessment of all these three things, there would be quite a lot business benefit we achieve, like we get faster faster time to market our product or our delivery. That reduces our IT cost, which is involved in the delivery. It improves our throughput in terms of quality. It reduces our risk, and it reduces our downtime. So these are the few of the benefits which we get by using DevOps. So as we have seen in our previous webinar, what exactly DevOps is, what all things constitute to DevOps. So here, this particular picture on the screen, this summarizes the DevOps platform. So as you can see on the green box, where we have development cycle, on the red box we can see that that's a continuous integration cycle. On the yellow box we can see that there's a continuous deployment cycle going on. And on the pink cycle, we can see that there is a continuous testing is being involved. But a point to note here is the project or the release management is the intersection between all these four groups. So in our today's webinar, we are going to see how a project management or a release management product or a tool can be used as an orchestrator to achieve from the delivery of a particular product. So here in today's webinar, we are going to see the development, the continuous integration, along with a bit of continuous deployment as well. More on continuous deployment we would be covering in our next webinar. So let us proceed ahead. So what exactly are the common problems we face during a release management scenario? So we often see that there is no single point of visibility being provided to the release managers or the higher management, which gives the complete visibility of the release readiness. Then there has been often scenario where even a minor release takes a long time to kick off. The most important would be, if at all there is any scope change, which is quite inevitable to happen, to avoid. So in that case, what all things would be impacted and how much time would it take for it to come out? Then from other perspective, there could be issues of code conflicts, which again contributes to the delay of a release cycle. Other issues like which even the actors like developers or tester face, where they need to test, where they need to branch out the code from, where do they need to merge again. So all these are the common problems which are faced in the release management scenario. So if we talk from an entire release perspective, there are various actors being involved in a agile release train. So if we talk from every actor has their own concern. So from a developer's perspective, they are always concerned about from where they need to branch out from, or where they need to merge in. What all are the changes, if at all, and in most of the cases where we have parallel development going on. So what all are the changes done overnight has to be communicated to the parallel developers. From a build and release group, basically they want to standardize a particular process of deployment. They want the entire team to follow the branching and merging practices. From a tester's perspective, they are always concerned about where they need to test these requirements on which particular environment, and they need to get a immediate notification as and when a build is ready to be tested. So usually what we do is we usually communicate to the testers group via mail. So that actually creates a silo. From a Scrum Master's perspective, they want to standardize the use of various tools being used across the group. They want to get the current status of a particular release, and they want to extract the reports from the tools that are available right now for based on the code quality or the deployment and the release management. Now, if we see from the product owner's perspective, he's more concerned about what a particular release holds, and what if there is any scope change of a planned release. So what all things would be impacted, how much would my delivery be impacted in terms of, and how much would my quality be impacted. So those were the concerns of each of the actors. Now, if we see the delivery of a single story being delivered, so there are altogether 14 steps which are highlighted over here with black color. So that starts from not only marking a particular story as with the start implementation, but also to perform a lot of interactions with your version control tool so as to take out the code, develop it, and again have to push the code onto the version control. Then there are various activities which are involved in creation of or maintaining the version control. Apart from that, there are activities being involved for deployment of a particular set for a particular build. Again, in addition to that, there are always project management related activities where we need to highlight or we need to provide the status update onto the management as well. So these are the traditional, or in general, the tasks involved in a single story delivery. Now, if we see from an integrated release management perspective, which we are going to show in our demo in few minutes, so we have tried to automate most of the things, which actually reduces the manual effort or manual steps to 7. So as we have seen in the previous slide, there are 40 manual steps being involved, and now that has been reduced to 7. So in that case, there would be a 50% of the efficiency being achieved in terms of delivery of a single story, and that again counts to the number of stories would be the actual efficiency which we have achieved with having an integrated release management scenario. So here most of the activities would be taken care or orchestrated from a by the project management tool. So that we'll see in our demo in few minutes. So with by having the release management integrated release management solution, we would be able to address almost all the issues which ART members faces. So in our solution today, we are basically going to use JIRA and JIRA Agile as our project management tool, and we are going to use Stash as a version control, Bamboo being the continuous integration tool, and there would be deployments happening on the various instances. So just to mention over here that instead of Stash, we can use any of the version control tool, be it Subversion, be it ClearCase or Perforce, and even same is the case with continuous integration tools as well. Instead of Bamboo, we can use Jenkins or any other continuous integration tool available. So now it's time for the demo. So let's start with the demo.
Thank you, Anu.
In the meantime, if at all there is any questions, you guys can just place it on the questions bar over there, and we'll take up the answers to those questions during end of the demo, during the question answer session. Thanks. So I am handing over to Sujit to proceed further with the live demonstration.
Thank you, Anu. So let us start with the demo. For the demo, we have considered, as Anup has already highlighted, JIRA, Stash, and Bamboo. So these are our instances. This is our JIRA, Stash, and this is our Bamboo instance. So coming up with our Bamboo, we have created the release management solution, which is implemented on two projects. Like we have used asset management for collaborating all the assets that are used for the deployment, and also release management has been completely applied to the project ALM that we are using here. So
this is basically a release board which is meant for release managers, product owners, or Scrum Masters. So here, as you can see over here, there are various applications being developed or various products being developed. One of the example is OpenTrip Planner, as you can see on the screen. There's another which is MSC Gen. Another one would be Excellentable. So these are basically different products or applications which are under development right now. So here, release manager can get a view that what's the runtime status of a particular the delivery of a particular product. So here, as you can see, for MSC Gen 1.0, this particular release is currently in scope review state, whereas the OpenTrip Planner or OTP 1.0 and 1.2 releases has already been done, or they already been released or launched. Similar is the case where currently the IRM 145 ticket is currently in UAT state. So this is for release board. There are separate boards for separate actors. So this is basically for release managers and product owners. There will be a separate board for the Scrum Masters and the development team, where they would be seeing the epics, the improvements which are included in a particular release. So here we can see that the delivery board contains the OpenTrip Planner feature 3, which is the development for mobile app, and that particular epic is currently in break story mode. Whereas if we see for the MSCGen feature 3 is already into estimate story mode, whereas MSCGen feature 2 is currently on hold right now. So this gives a clear visibility onto the Scrum Masters and the product owners about each of the epics or improvements or bugs which are currently in their backlog. Now, once the product owner and Scrum Masters they do the sprint planning, they have refined the backlog. At the time when they are doing the sprint planning, they come onto the sprint board. They can they come onto the implementation board. They can create a sprint, and they can load the priority items from the backlog onto the sprint. So this would be this particular board would be focused for development team, or basically the delivery team, which includes development, build and release, and even testing teams. Once the sprints get started, we can actually kick off with the implementation. So Sujit, if you can.
Yeah. So coming with the release management solution, like it is an end-to-end solution. So right from creation of a release till the development of a granular functionalities that will be done by a developer will be taken care here. So firstly, in the creation of a release that we have taken care is, if it is a new release or if it is a new product launch, then they need to have a new project onto their version control system and also a new repository corresponding the same. So let us consider like we are going to launch a new product, that is excellent table 1.0. So since this will be our first one major release, and we have to consider it as a fresh release since it is a new thing. So once we consider it as a new fresh release, so a new repository needs to be present onto our version control system. So this we have automated from our JIRA itself, which is acting as an orchestrator here. So excellent table V3 we can mention here, as we have excellent table already. So the release date for the same and the scope release. The scope release freeze date here, it is not actually the completely freezing since we are considering the agile development. So the release can consist of the features, like they can be dynamically rescoping of new features like coming into the release, or we are rolling out the old features that are not very prominent for this particular release. So, and here we have the deployment configuration. This is the deployment pipeline that we are following. Like we have considered only 3 environments, but this is not a hard and fast rule that we will be having only 3 environments. Based upon the organization needs, this can be scaled to any number of environments. And since we have used an asset management project which has been integrated with this project, so all the environments that are existing for the deployment will be highlighted here. And also we have considered like allocation of these environments. So the provisioning can be either static if the environment for the deployment are already provisioned in an organization, they can be considered here, or they can be dynamic, that is the new provisioning of these systems can be done. This I'll be taking up at the end of the demo. And also we have the roles here. Since Anup has already highlighted, like different boards will be there for different portfolio people. Like for release manager, he will be mostly interested in where the releases for the different products are standing, and the development manager would be mainly considered about where his feature is going, like what stories the people are working and what is their status. and the test manager and the deployment manager in the same way. So for this particular release on the stash, we can see that for this project, we won't be having any repository for the same, but once we kickstart this release, that is once the release is created, at the back end the creation of a repository has been done. So here you can see the new repository being created for this particular release. And also another thing to consider here is a new version would be created for the same. Here you can see the version, the target version. So this is dynamically created so that the new features that will be including or that we are going to create further would be, we can assign it to this release, and at the end of the release, when the release is completed, the release notes would be including all the features that will be going for this particular release. So now let us consider the scenario where we already have a released version. Like say we are considering here the OTP, which has been already released, like it has its already released version of 1.0. On top of it, we are going to extend its functionality. So another major release we are going to do, and the 1.0, that is the one that has been released. And here in this release, we can see that the production environment for this 1.0 release would be looking like this. And for the new 2.0 release, we would be considering for the expanding the functionality of creation of a table here and a new search button at the top of the map. So, and we will be considering the release date and the scope freeze and the deployment environment. So as of now, we'll be going with the static environments. And so this would be our new release that has been created. So this is the target release and the base release from which it has been taken from. So at this point of time, the base release and the target release are like the base release. We would be having already in the stash the branches corresponding to the OTP planner project, and in that we can find the base release branch that has been already present 244. So upon this, we will be creating a new release. So now we shall include one of the improvement, that is the search option on the map. And the improvement criteria would be with release, as we are going to include it under the release. So once the new release is created, it would be available in the unreleased versions, so that the new improvement that we are going to create is automatically linked to this release. So everything would be highlighted at the end of the release, and which would be transparent in the release notes.
So using this, basically we can align a particular feature or a particular enhancement to a particular release.
And also we shall include one feature, that is the epic development. That is, we have considered the branching strategy here, like a release would be having either an improvement or an epic. Epic would be holding the storage where the developers would be actually working. So I would be going to create an epic under this release. So that is the table location. Of the table, and the target release, again it would be the same thing. So once I select the target release, the base release would not be there. So if it is unknown, then it would ask me for the base release. So if we think, like if we plan to if we have in a vision like this will be a new feature, but I don't know when I am going to release it, at that time I can select it as a target release as unknown, and I can get a code from which I can develop, that is a base release from which I can start my development activities. So here I am considering the target release as the one that I have created just now, and again the deployment configuration as highlighted before. So once the epic is created, the break stories would be done here, like creation of stories. So it would be included in this. So one would be table background color, along with the location inside it. So roles again would be the same thing. So this would be one of the story, and another story that I am considering here is the table line specification. So once this is done, we would be having the complete release, like what it includes. So this is my release ticket. So you can see here what it actually includes. This is one of the feature, and this is one of the improvement. The feature would be including again the story tickets where the developers would be actually working. So once, and the planning of a release can be done even from here. So once we go for planned release, we can include any of the features. So as explained, some of the releases would be having only the base release from which the development would have been started but not targeted. So if the release manager would think of including any of the features that were already developed into this release, he can do it here. So once he is scoped, he can go for scope, and once it is done, the scope review would be done for the same, like what all things are will be going into this release, and he can approve it. And at any time you can see that there is a rescope option for him, like he can go and rescope it, so that there is no scope freeze. So once it is in implementation, you can find that a new branch would be created for the corresponding release. Like this is the release, and a new branch corresponding to this ticket would be created, and that too from the base branch that has been already released, that is the 244. So in the network diagram for the branches, you can clearly see that the release 244 and the release 252 are at the same point. That is, the base of 252 would be 244. So once the release has been kick-started, the improvement would be improvement and the corresponding features can be started. So here where the actual development would be taking place, here what we have done is the branches for the developer would be created on the developer box automatically once he is going to start the development. So here you can see this is our epic. So epic, once it is created, he will estimate the stories. Once it is done, he will prioritize which stories needs to be completed. This was already highlighted by Anup, like during the showing the implementation board, like about the development status that will be shown to the development manager and also the development team. So once it is under again implementation, a new branch would be created corresponding to the same on the stash automatically. So this is the new branch. So once it is done, the developers would start their development. So once it is approved, they are going to do the start implementation. So we have considered the development box here for our demo. So here we can check that what are the branches already existing on this particular developer box. So you don't have any release branch or a storage branch corresponding to the new release. So once he is ready with his understanding the requirements, he starts the implementation. So once it is done, a new branch would be created onto his developer box. So this is the new branch. So here this automation is abstracting the version control system activities from the developer, so that the developers would concentrate on their actual development without being worried about from where he needs to branch out, which is his base branch, what should be the nomenclature he needs to follow for the creation of a branch. All these things has been abstracted so that the developer would directly get his branch and it will be checked out for him so that he can start the development right away. So similarly, we have considered the option of the parallel development if it is going to take place. So let us do some developments for demo purpose. We have considered only the HTML file that we would be changing. So we have already commented it out so that it could be visible for us. So I'm just uncommenting it out. So once his development is done, that is the creation of a table along with the location, he needs to commit it. But commit, like, it is not a hard and fast rule that he has to commit only once after his complete development. He can commit any number of times. Like at the end of the day, he might be committing, or he might be committing for every new feature or any new module he is including into his particular branch. So once he has committed, there is no need to push it onto his branch. Once he is done, he needs to just go to his ticket and he needs to go for implemented transition. So that during this transition in the backend, the branch that was on his local box would be pushed onto the version control system, and once it is pushed onto the version control system, the changes would be detected, that is the new branch would be detected by the Bamboo, and a build would be done corresponding to the same, and also a pull request would be created onto the stash for the reviewer. So here you can see that the latest build available for him is 2, and also a pull request has already been created for the reviewer, and you can also find all the details like a branch created for this particular issue, what number of commits, that is I have already highlighted that he can do any number of commits for this particular development, and also a pull request that has been created. So this is the pull request. So you can directly go from the development panel of the JIRA onto the stash. So the reviewer could see what all the development things the developer has already made. So here you can see that we have removed the merge button from here, and also you can't see the approve button here as of now, because we have opened this stash with the same user, that is the one who is creating the pull request can't approve his own pull request. So the reviewer for whom it has been opened, he has to open it. So I need to change the user here. So here the reviewer would be able to see the approve button, and the merge button has been removed. That is, the merge wouldn't be made directly without the changes have been tested. So here we are including the auto merge option. That is, after the testing of the complete changes are done by the tester, only then the code would be merged to its parent. So here he would approve the pull request. So once it is approved, the ticket would be automatically transitioned to the testing, and at the same time, at the back end, it would be deployed onto the predefined environment that we have already stated here. So we can go to the ST environments. So here you can see the new table along with the background and the location have been added that the developer has done. And you can see that the ticket has been, let me refresh it, has moved into the testing. So since we are considering the parallel development here, let me move the another story ticket also onto the implementation phase. So this is just for considering what if there is a parallel development and there are changes onto the parent branch where the other developer has already pushed onto his changes, so that this developer needs to be notified about the changes onto his parent branch, and he needs to pull the changes so that we can reduce the concepts that would be raised at the end of the release. Like if 10 developers are there, if everyone are doing their development, and the end we are going to merge them, so there would be many conflicts. So in order to reduce this scenario, we have included this. So once it is in implementation phase, similarly a new branch would be created onto his local machine and also checked out for him for the development. So as already stated, like the code would be merged to its parent only when it is tested. So here we have tested that a new table has been created along with the location. The tester would pass it. So once he passes it, in the background, this particular story would be merged onto its parent branch. So we can see in the network diagram that the story is merged to its feature branch now. And also at the same time, the other developer would get a notification that his local repository needs to be updated, and as the parent repository has changed. So this is just a notification. Here we have also automated of updating his local repository. Here you can see that the update repo button has been enabled so that he could update his local repo. So first we shall see what his local repository file would be looking like. So here it is still commented out. So let me do the update repo. So the update repo is done. So again the developer could see it. So now the changes that were done by the previous developer are now incorporated into this developer. So this would like help where the parallel development is going on, and also we can update the repo as and when different developers would be merging onto the parent. Every developer who are working, that is from implementation phase till it is closed, all the developers would be getting the notification that they need to update their repo. But this is an optional phase. If they think they don't want to update, they can move forward. So next he would start with his development. So as we have line configuration, we can change either the color of the background of the table so that it is the visible development would be seen here. So once he is done with his development, he could again commit it. So here we need to take care that the developers need to mention the issue key whenever they are going to commit it, because they are all linked, like the Stash, JIRA and Bamboo are all communicating using this issue key as a pointer. So once he is done with his development, again he can do it, implement it. So again the same cycle, like once it is into implement in the review, a pull request would be created for the same, and a build would be started at the backend, and you can see that the updated build would be there, and a pull request.
So this particular approach actually ensures that most of the code conflict, if happens, gets resolved at the developer's level itself, or basically at the child branch itself.
So once it is successfully reviewed by the reviewer, it would be moved into testing, and that deployment would be placed onto the environment. And here you can see the change of the color, and the deployment has been successful. So once this is done, the tester would be passing the particular issue. So once it is done, it would be merged to its parent. You can see it onto the Stash network diagram here. So the new story has also been merged onto the feature. Okay, here, so this feature has been done. So we can see that our in our release we had one improvement and also one feature, that is including the 2 story tickets. And if the by any case, if the release manager thinks that he doesn't want to move with this particular search option feature for this particular release, he can rescope it, and this particular feature or the improvement would be removed from this particular release. So once it is done, he can scope it again, and he can approve. And since this particular feature has been implemented, you can go for the implementation. And here we have considered the deployment. So once it is an integration of 2 different features by the developer, we need to take into consideration the functional integration test or the performance test. Again, this is just what we have considered. This is customizable for any number of environments based upon the organization. And here what we are showing is the parallel development is also being taken care in this solution. So once it is done, so again the similar thing, that is a pull request would be created for it, for the changes that have been incorporated for the same, like the complete table as well as the background color. So once it is approved, it would be deployed and moved to the testing phase in the JIRA. So we can see the integration environment that is incorporating it. And also the performance environment. The environment is a bit slow. Okay, we can move forward and later we can look at it again once it is loaded. So the performance environment, you can see that it has been already incorporated now. Similarly, the init would be incorporated with the changes that have been done by the developer for this particular feature. So once this particular feature has been done, he can go for the deployed, or he has an option for redeployment also. Here you can see the int environment that has been incorporated with the changes, also the performance environment. So here we have kept a sanity check also. If he wants to do if he feels that the deployment has been not done properly onto the environment, he can do it again onto selective environment, whether it can be a multiple or a single environment based upon his particular requirement. And once he is confirmed with his sanity check by the deployment team, he can go for the deploy, and it goes to the testing team here. So once they approve it, it would be merged to its release. So let me pass it.
So now here the testing can be manual, or it can be an automated testing as well. So the same can be triggered over here as soon as the ticket moves onto the testing phase. So based on the result of an automated test, again the merging of the branch would be taken care.
Here you can see that it has been merged to its release, and once the new changes are incorporated to the release, a new build would be triggered for the release also. Here you can see the various branches for which the build has been done. So once it is done, like the feature which is being targeted for this release is closed, the release could be pushed onto the implemented. And again here we have the parallel development, like the pre-prod, performance, or any number of environments as already highlighted. So let us do a single environment deployment here. Let us check it. So once it is done, we can check it out, the pre-prod. So the changes are incorporated into the pre-prod also. So once it is done, he can go for deploy, just a sanity check, and it will be moved to the pre-prod testing team. So once they provide their sign off, it will be moved into a bucket where it will be ready for the prod. It is in the hands of the release manager when he needs to, or when he wants to release this particular product with these features. So once it is ready for the release, here you can also find that the ticket has been moved for the ready for the prod. So here the release manager would always know like what features are ready for him to release, which particular release he can move for the marketplace or wherever for the customers he needs to. So once it is done, he is good to release it to the marketplace. So it will be deployed. So we can check whether it has been properly deployed onto the production. So in the meanwhile, so here we have option for rollback. If there is any problem with our release, if it is not being taken care, like all the features are not included or the complete environment has gone down, we can roll back it to our previous release. Or if we are satisfied with our release, like whatever the features that we want to incorporate for the release, if they are meeting our expectations, he can go for the deploy, and he can get the UAT sign off for the same. So once it is released, you would be having the release notes. Let me show you. So here we can see the releases under the versions. So this has been released. So So this is the complete end-to-end solution. That is, we are going to track it here, like right from the development, like the creation of a release by a release manager, till the release has been broken into the features, like what features needs to be incorporated into the release, and also the features that have been broken as the developer requirements, like how the developer needs to incorporate those changes that have been decided, and their incorporation into the complete release. Like we have included the branching strategy here, that is release. Under it there will be the improvements and the epic, which is just an analogy for the features, and the feature it include the granular development activities, that is stories. So as I have already highlighted, like we have also,
so as we have seen here a bit of continuous deployment as well. So if you have noticed that during defining the deployment pipeline, we have earlier used the static environments, or the environments which are already been procured and available with the team. So in our most of the experience, we have seen that even if we need to create a new, we need to procure a new environment and its setup, it usually gonna take a lot of time. It goes to the respective team, they procure the environment, they set up the environment, and they give to the delivery team. So this again creates a silo between these two teams. So in order to overcome that particular silo, there is another option to provision the environments dynamically. So in that case, as we can see on the screen, the dynamic option needs to be selected in the allocation, and at just on the click of a button, it will either procure and set up the environment, or if already procured, it will set up the environment as per your need. So Sujit, if you can just show the allocation of a particular environment. So this particular scenario of dynamic provisioning, dynamic setup, just on a click of a button, we'll be taking up in our next webinar. So just stay tuned with for our next webinar for that. So guys, that is from the live demonstration point of view. So we are now opening the session for the question and answers. So if at all you have any questions, just let us know. So guys, the question answer session is now open. So if any questions, just let us know.
So here there is one question, like since we have showed this using Stash, JIRA and Bamboo, one of the participant has the question like whether it can be implemented using JIRA, Stash and Jenkins. So as already Anup has highlighted, like Bamboo, like the continuous integration tool, it can be replaced with any of Jenkins or whatever Travis, whatever the organization is using, and Stash can be replaced with any of the version control system you are using, and the same amount of automation can be achieved using JIRA, Stash and Jenkins also.
So if at all somebody is interested in getting a demo on JIRA, Stash and Jenkins as well, just let us know. We can show that as well during our next webinar. One of the participants has a question whether Stash is only applicable for agile-based projects. So basically, Stash is a version control tool, and it can be for any of the. It is irrespective of the project management strategy which we are using, be it agile, be it waterfall. We can use it with any of them.
Right. Basically, Stash is a distributed version control system. It's a Atlassian's layer on top of Git. So effectively, it is a Git. There are some features and UI element on top of Git which Atlassian provides, and then that's something they've named it as Stash. So basically, with JIRA, it's a lot more integrated. That's why we chose JIRA. That's why we chose Stash as a version control. Okay. The next question is, I have around 20 projects going live to production every month on different applications, PeopleSoft, BI, Sibyl, Web Apps, and many others. Is there a way in JIRA which can help me track the progress of all the phases? Yeah, so like you must have seen, basically there's a release, there's a Kanban board on to track the releases. I think something like that, as many projects or products you're tracking, something like that would give visibility to the whole organization in terms of where each release is, starting from whether it's under scoping or it's under UAT or it's released to production. So you get a full visibility on what's happening. So yeah, I think it can be applied to such complex scenarios as well.
And with such DevOps practices as well, we can reduce the downtime as well.
Yeah.
So Dayanand is asking if static analysis tool is also integrated into Bamboo to report defects in code. So yes, I think that can be achieved, right?
Yeah, it can be achieved.
Yeah.
So basically it's a solution which AdTech has developed, and if you want to leverage this automation, please get in touch with us. We can basically understand your context and apply specific automation to your projects as well.
So Rajiv is asking if this particular solution can also be implemented with ClearCase. So yes, Rajiv, it can be implemented with ClearCase as well.
So I think, yeah, we've covered all the questions. Thanks for taking interest in the whole session and asking questions. I think we'll be glad to answer all of them. But things don't stop here. So in case you have any further questions, you can always get in touch with either Microgenesis or AdTech, and we'll be glad to arrange specific demos or offer consulting as needed. This we covered. Okay, that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thanks again for participating, and we will be doing another webinar in September on more of infrastructure automation and infrastructure management outside of DevOps. Hope you would get some time to join us again. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.